Hello everybody, I'm Kat.
And I'm Bella.
And today we're going to be showing you our Booktubeathon wrap-up. The very first book I read for Booktubeathon was Sailor Moon Volume 9. I chose this book for the challenge, Read a Book with a Person on the cover. As you can see here, we have Sailor Pluto on the cover. I really enjoyed this volume and it was so nice to go back into the world of Sailor Moon and once again re-immerse myself into it. And I really enjoyed it and I gave it 5 out of 5 stars.
And the first book I read is The Hunger Games. And this was for the challenge, Read a Book that you bought just because of the cover. And I really liked this. It was already my favorite book of all time, and I still gave it 5 out of 5 stars.
The next book I read was Queens of Geek by Jen Wilde. I chose this book for the Read a Hyped Book challenge, and honestly, I don't get why it gets all of the hype it gets. I mean, it is adorable. I was expecting this book to blow me away like Anna and the French Kiss did because that book is one of my all-time favorite contemporaries. This book didn't blow me away. Sure, it was adorable, but it didn't wow me like everyone else has said. I ended up giving it 4 out of 5 stars. I still really enjoyed it. It's still really adorable, but it just didn't blow me away.
And the second book I read is 13 Reasons Why by Jay Asher. And this book was for the challenge of Read a Hyped Book. I really liked it. I completely understand why it's hyped. I give it 4.5 stars.
The next book I read was Sailor Moon Volume 10. I chose this volume for the challenge Read a Book in one day, and I read this book in 45 minutes during one of the reading sprints. It is a record for me to finish a book that fast. That is more than 100 pages, of course. I didn't enjoy this volume as much as I enjoyed Volume 9, but it was still really good, and I gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars.
The third book I read is The Selection Stories. So I replaced A Happily Ever After with this just because it was much shorter and had more interesting stories. I chose this book for the challenge of Have a Person with a Face on the cover. It's really good. I gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars.
The next book I read was Wink Puppy Midnight by April Genevieve Taholke. That's how the audiobook pronounces her last name, so I'm just gonna go with it. This book was weird. I mean, weird. It starts off as a dark contemporary, but then all of a sudden gets really violent out of nowhere. Oh, it was so confusing. And like, I finished this book and I sat on my bed and I was like, what? It was really weird and confusing, but I still ended up really enjoying the story and I gave it 4 out of 5 stars.
And the fourth and final book I read was Kill the Boy Band. This book was really good. It was for the challenge of Read a Book with a main character that's different than you. It's so good. I give it 5 out of 5 stars. And that's all the books I read. I didn't read that many. Bye.
Bella left because those were the only 4 books that she read and she didn't want to stand here for the rest of the video. So the next book I read was Sailor Moon Volume 11. This book is not my favorite in the series. If anything, it's probably my least favorite. There was so much info dumping and 2 characters were missing, and those 2 characters like brought an element to the story, and without them in the story, it felt like everything was just wrong because it didn't quite fit together. I chose this volume for the challenge Read a Book Completely Outside, and I ended up giving it 4 out of 5 stars. Next, I read Looking for Alaska by John Green. This book is not my favorite John Green book. That would still have to go to Paper Towns. I love Paper Towns, as you guys know, but I still really enjoyed it. It got to a point where I just didn't want to put it down and I kept reading, as you will see in my vlog, which is coming sometime next week. Watch out for that. I really enjoyed this book and I gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars. This book didn't belong to any challenge. It was a book that I chose in case I didn't want to finish the Sailor Moon series, so I threw this book in there like as a free-for-all. Next, I read Sailor Moon Volume 12. I love this volume so much. This is hands down my favorite volume out of the entire series. I loved it so much. If you guys have not picked up this manga series, I definitely recommend it. It's so good and I love this volume so much. I also chose this book for the challenge Read 7 books. So this was the 7th book that I was supposed to read, and it was actually, this was the 7th book I read for Booktubeathon. And the very last book I read for Booktubeathon, I literally finished it when the clock struck 12 o'clock, which was midnight, was On the Fence by Casey West. I did it. I read 8 books. This is a really funny thing because I hated the main character. She was cruel to basically anybody except her own family, and I hated that. Like, she was mean to literally everybody. But I liked the story. Normally when I hate the main character, I hate the story. But this was weird because I hated the main character, but I liked the story. I ended up giving this book a 3.75 out of 5 stars because I didn't want to give it a full 4 stars, but it wasn't exactly a 3.5 star, so I figured somewhere in between would be right around where I would give it. It was adorable, it was fluffy, but I really just did not like the main character at all. I chose this book for the challenge, Read a Book with a main character who is different than you. And that is it for this wrap up. Let me know down below some of the books that you read during Booktubeathon. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my YouTube channel. I post videos every Thursday, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!